Got a new box from Cage WRX. Something cool for the RZR. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna work on the XPTS. So no RZR 800 today. Going over here, show you. We'll work on this guy. So I'm not super happy with the way the front of the car looks with the orange grille and no bumper. So we're gonna change that today. So let's dig in. All right, bust this guy open. Show you what we got here. Probably not the proper way to open a box, but when you're one-handed, oh, staples are flying. Oh, there we go. We got ourselves a front bumper. Ooh. Let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful, fresh, powder coated Cage WRX front bumper. So let's get this guy put together. Okay, so there's two mounting bolts down below, two mounting bolts here. So the ones down below seem to go right here, because there's nothing else below this, obviously. And then the other two, I don't know if you can see it, but they're down in here. 1, 2, those seem to line up perfectly with it. So I believe what we need to do is we need to go in, because I know there is some plastic cutting involved. So I believe we have to go in and trim some of this out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of measure how much I need to trim. So I take away the least amount of plastic possible, but that way we can get that plate to get back in there. So you can see again, our bumper's off and right back down in here. This is, right in there's where we're gonna mount it. All right, so we have cut out our plastic area, kind of cleaned it up with a file. We put a couple of the clips that come with the bumper on the mounting tab for the bumper, and then the bolts just come in from the back side. You can see I've got my Allen wrench in here, and I'm slowly gonna tighten this up. Now down here below, this one's a little more tricky. There is enough room to potentially get a socket on it, but then you gotta grab it from all the way back in here. Which is a little tricky. So I'm just gonna kind of do that off camera because there's not much you're gonna be able to see, but I'm gonna have the two bolts going through here, the two right here. Then we can install our skid plate, and then we're ready to accept lights, which I'm definitely going to be doing. I just gotta decide what I wanna use light-wise, and then I'll be able to put that together. And then we'll be able to put our grill back in, which right now we're stripping our powder coating off the grill, and we're gonna repaint that, so it's gonna really complement the bumper really well. We've got some end caps for it. So let me just kind of jump ahead on this a little bit, and then I'll show you kind of what we've got. All right, so we got it. So these two guys, you just have to take your time and tighten with an Allen from the back side into these pins. These guys are a little trickier. They're tucked back in here. I've got them nice and tight. If you have a 3 3/4 inch really shallow socket, that would be the best, is to put the socket in first, then an extension, then you can do your impact. And you'll just go through the backside with a 3/4 inch open-ended wrench, which worked well for me. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the clips on the rest of the spots, and we can secure the skid plate and take a look and see what this guy actually looks like. See what this guy actually looks like. Bumper is on. Looks super nice. Love the skid plate. I put the little caps on the ends of each of the tubes. It looks really, really good. Super happy with it. I love it's got a lot of room for lights, which I'm gonna figure that out. So last thing we're gonna do now is we're just gonna wrap up our grill, and I will show you kind of how that's coming. All right, so if you look close, you can see this white. That's where it's getting into the paint. So we just have this guy wrapped up with the Citri-Strip. We're gonna let this work overnight, and then hopefully by tomorrow this paint will easily come off, and then I'll figure out what color I wanna do, paint it up, and we'll get the grill reinstalled. All right, so here's the progress on the powder coating removal. So I let it sit like this overnight. I actually came out and added a little bit more because it seems like with the Citri-Strip, it sort of kind of runs out, like the paint absorbs it, but it needs more to keep doing the job. But I'm gonna show you, I'm just gonna take this little blade here, but you can see right there, see how it's starting to just come right off? And you're seeing the exposed metal right below it. So we're getting that in a couple different places here. There it's starting to happen. So just kind of coating it back on it. So we're gonna let this go. It's probably gonna take another day or so to really get all of it to kind of shrivel up. And once it's all shriveled up like this, you can literally just wipe it off. Now over here, you can see it's starting to shrivel up around the ends, but these pieces haven't quite got hit yet. So some areas are working a little faster than others. But I'm just gonna let this stuff work. I'm just continuing to add more of the Citri-Strip. And once it basically allows me to wipe all this right off, we can just, wash it really good with like an isopropyl alcohol or a really good degreaser. And then we'll have a nice bare grill to start over with. And then I'm gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna powder coat it yet or if I'm just going to paint it myself, which is fine by me because it's just the grill. And if it gets chipped up and things with rocks and things flying at it, which will happen, I could easily just take it off and touch it up if I use my own paint, which would be pretty cool. So if that's the case, I'm just gonna go through and do a primer on it, and then I'll do a paint. I'm gonna figure out what color I'm gonna choose. Probably gonna stick with like a matte black, just because there is, again, so much orange on the car already. And I definitely wanna kind of tone that down a little bit. And I think this will give it a really good kind of a balanced look. All right, so here's an update on our grill. The other side's already all cleared off. So when I came out in the morning after sitting overnight, this is basically what I came out to. So notice how it's all just kind of separated from the metal and it's all shriveling up. So I'm just taking an old, I actually had a Best Buy gift card. I hold on to these cards, whether it's an old gift card or even an old debit card or something like that. And these are great for kind of working as a spatula just to kind of work all this stuff off. So I'm just kind of starting on this end and I'm working my way this way. And I'm gonna scrape it all off. It might be a little bit of a trick to get this stuff out of the grooves. It's all shriveled up really well, so I don't think anything will really be stuck. But if I have to, I can go in and just kind of clean that out. So I'm just gonna finish getting all this goop off, and then we're gonna soak it down in like a simple green or a degreaser, just to kind of start cleaning off all this, the Citri-Strip. And then I'm gonna probably use like an isopropyl alcohol or something to clean it again, just to make sure all those contaminants are gone. So if we are gonna paint it, and who knows, I might even run it raw. It's kind of cool looking raw. So we'll see how it sits on the car, and then we'll kind of decide. All right, we're good. So got all the orange off, cleaned it really good with a simple green, so that way the agent's got up. Found a speck of orange. There's gonna be a few little specks I'll have to pick off as I go, but overall it looks really good. It's just using the stock plastic, and they cut it out and just bolted it to it. So now we can get that orange out of there, and we'll snap this thing and see what it looks like. All right, so let me show you what comes in the package with our Auxbeam lights. I already cut this open so we can get to it. All right, so, ooh, there we go. Wow, they definitely look nice. I would say they're quite an improvement over the, oh man, they're heavy, they're beefy. This is quite an improvement over the majority of the Amazon lights I've seen that are not like a name brand. So the clear lens is on it. Man, huge heat sink on the back. I don't know what that's for. That's interesting. Okay, so here's our amber lenses. This is important because I definitely want to run the ambers to try to deal with the dust. So it's got a relay, so that's great. So it takes the pressure off the switch. It's fused. That's good stuff. So it's just the hardware package. Let me tear this open. I want to see exactly what's in here. All right, so the wiring harness is kind of what we expect with a lot of these kits. So you got your on and off switch, which is pretty generic. I'm probably going to cut this off and hook it up to a switch that I use so it looks more uniform, but this switch definitely looks like it would work fine. You got the two inputs, so both of these lights share one hardware or harness, which is great, which is what I want. So you got your relay. So if you're not aware, what this does is it takes all the pressure off the switch. So you don't have all the high voltage running through the switch. It's actually going through the relay. The switch is just turn the relay on and off, which then sends all the voltage and the amps and everything through the power wires. So there's our positive and negative wires. So pretty nice little setup. I'm sure this switch works great, but in like my Jeep or something, I would totally leave this alone. But in the RZR, since I have these like, you know, pretty standard UTV switches that we use, I've got a spot, so I'll probably swap that out. But yeah, this looks great. So, I mean, all that's really going to matter is how they work once they're on the car. So let's get to installing these on our bumper. All right, so I went in and threw them on the bumper. The mounting is pretty simple. There's a bolt that just goes right down through the bottom. It's got little retaining ledges on it so that it holds it in place. That way you can just come in from behind and just tighten that bolt down. You've got some adjustable Allens here. So on this guy here, I've already put the amber lens in because I do want to run the ambers because I'm really focused on trying to penetrate the dust. You can kind of see the difference with the amber compared to the clear. So all you have to do to switch it out is you just take all these screws out. The whole little frame comes right off, and then the lens can pop right out. There is a rubber gasket that is kind of got a little static cling going on. So you do have to be careful because you have to line it back up in there. When you go to push the lens in, just make sure you go for it. Just go straight on it. But it's pretty easy. So one thing I'm gonna need to do, because of the way I'm orienting mine in my bumper, is these guys are right next to each other, so there won't be any real adjustment there without having to loosen the whole thing and rotate it. They do give you some nice rubber pads that sit down below. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap this other guy over to amber. I'm gonna kind of adjust him as best as I can, what I think is gonna be good, and then I might have to loosen it up and move things to adjust it. But once you get it set, it's set. So a little bit of extra work. These lights look great on this bumper though. They really came out good. They fit perfectly, kind of fills in the gap there. And then I'm just running my wiring right back down underneath. And on my RZR, it's gonna come up through here. And then I am working on doing a second battery. I already have the battery installed, but I'm gonna run another fuse box for an all-on situation. So I'll have a battery specifically for running the car, and then a battery to run the accessories with an isolator to be able to, you know, make sure it charges, but it's not drawing the other one down. So I'm gonna set that up, and then we'll figure out switching up front. But this is a good start. So like you can see, this one I just got kind of sitting in here. But let me go ahead and switch this other to amber and kind of tidy up the wiring a little bit. All right, so I thought I'd show you really quick. I've got the frame off of this one. So the lens just pulls right off, and you can see that little rubber gasket came with it. So we take the gasket off, we apply it back in here, and then we just set our amber over it. All right, so here we go. We're all wrapped up. Got our amber lenses in there, which I'm excited to see how those are gonna work in the dust at night. Really like the improvement. Sorry with the sun here. But yeah, I like this bumper. Looks really good. Accommodates a lot of different lights. We're gonna give those Auxbeams a try and see if we like them. If not, we might switch to something else. I would have liked to have had one that I could take the amber lenses on and off. These, like you saw, have to be screwed in. So yeah, that's about it. A little more work to do on this guy. Got to make some suspension adjustments. Got some rugged radio stuff going in. A lot of other things happening here. Desert season's upon us, so I want to get this thing knocked out. So thank you to everyone who likes and subscribes. And till the next video, guys.